Hey everyone, I'd like to call our meeting to order. Would everyone please stand for pledge of allegiance? I would like to the flag of the United States of America, and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Agenda, the recommended action, approve the items below which are included in the consent agenda. 4A minutes, 6A recertification of lead evaluators, and 6D special education. May I have a motion, please?
Sorry.
Any discussion? If not, vote. No.
I haven't seen it up yet.
Oh, so do you want to just vote out loud? Yes.
Yes.
7 yes.
We're going to our first good of the cause. Would anybody in our audience today like to make a statement or?
No.
Harper? No,
No.
Heather. Karen, is there anything online?
No.
Information for the public. There's nothing currently underneath that for any kind of content. So we will move into the report section. I do have 2 updates that I'm going to very briefly talk about, 2 conferences that I attended. The first was a 2-day virtual law conference that I attended over the summertime. This was actually, I think, very informative, but it essentially provided a framework for various laws that are either current or that are being changed for this year. And there were a few things that I did write down. There were some issues under Title IX. They talked about what the protocol would be if a student or a parent had an issue with something, calling them in, the student and the parent, sharing our policy with them, and then to ask kind of what the parent was seeking as a remedy for whatever the situation might be. We're well aware of the cell phone ban. That was part of the law conference. They talked about the dual enrollment policy that many schools have. And for us, the example would have been North Country Community College, where some of our students, juniors, seniors, can take college courses. And Dana, you can correct me on this. This went pretty quickly, but I kind of scribbled it down. It was talking about the zero emission bus policies that are going to be coming down the pipe. But they did say something about there being 2 24-month waivers that districts can apply for to extend that. So that was brought up. In day 2, they talked about more issues with personnel type issues. They talked about health insurance and some of the obvious problems throughout many districts of the increase in health insurance. And then they talked about 2 certification changes that will be coming to administration in 2031. School building leader and school district leader that will be not used any longer after that time period, so 6 years from now. So again, it was a really great conference. It was very, very detailed. And then the second day also went into using just different legal cases. And at that point, it was a lot. So again, you need your law book in front of you to be able to reference some of these cases if you have ever had to go back. But for anybody that wants the information, it's there, and it was a really good one to attend. The other one that I attended was the superintendent evaluation. It was a conference again. It was just in the morning. This would be a great conference for a new board member to attend. Someone that's not familiar with the super eval document. It went through each of the 6 or 7 categories, gave you ideas of how to rate those different categories and the parameters that you would want to use to come up with the conclusion that you have. So if anybody has an opportunity for that one, that was probably a good one to attend, and I think it was only like 3 hours long. So that's my little capsule on that. And then I also went to the audit committee meeting that was here last month with Karen Meister, who represents our district, and 2 representatives from Telling and Telling. Tom was not here this year, but essentially we are in great shape with our audit. There were a couple of things that were brought up, and again, Dana knows all about this, but apparently we may not have to go through a full audit because for federal funding, they're raising the threshold to $1 million versus $750,000. So we may not have to participate in the full audit, but they will still do a financial statement audit and a compliance supplement in lieu of the single audit that we have previously, been subjected to.
We broke the threshold this year. So we'll do a single audit. We
Okay.
went over 750. Once you add in our reimbursables for our meals, and then we had some additional stuff. But next year,
We may not.
yes, we won't. One of our title grants is no longer available to a non-public school in our district, so that will be a $70,000-$80,000 savings. So we will definitely be under the threshold.
So that was good. They were very, very informative. They will be back prior to October 15th via a Zoom meeting to all of us to review and allow us to ask any questions. The other little tidbit of information that they brought up is that under Title I, apparently Mountain Lake Academy may not qualify for that funding.
Right. That's the.
Oh, I'm sorry.
No, that's the Title 1D. Yeah, they've
Okay.
been getting money the last few years, and this coming year they're no longer eligible for whatever reason.
So I don't know. So that was interesting, and anyway, we seem to be in great shape. And my last little tidbit of information, and I'll probably be able to share this at the next meeting. I have volunteered to be the district liaison. And there is a meeting coming up this Friday with Chuck Schumer's office that I'll participate in. So typically they will give us a script the day before to come forward with what we want. But if we can come up with one thing that I can interject and raise my hand to say this is what's really important to our district, whether it be the continuation of the free meals, let me know, because typically I get a moment where I can kind of punch in and say, this is what's important to us. So it's supposed to be Friday. Sometimes they cancel at the last minute, so or I get bumped out. So it's usually only 10 people that get to participate in it. So anyway, that's my little tidbit of information on my reports. So moving on to operations and turning the mic over to Dana.
I'll give you guys a little update end of the summer look back in terms of what was done in the facilities. We had talked about the unit events last meeting in terms of being installed. They were finished today. They put the vents on today, so all 11 vents, unit vents are ready to go. Wait for winter. The 3 up top on the 3rd floor, that's kind of held us up a little bit because of they are AC units as well, so they had to expand the duct system and vents. That's if you happen to look outside. When you leave, you'll look up and you'll see that underneath one of the windows, the vent is probably 4 times the size of the other ones because they're AC. So all 3 rooms on this wing of the 3rd floor have them. Had that. We had talked about already the art room, kiln, and sink. That was part of the repair reserve fund that you guys approved, was put in. We have had 3 windows replaced in the admin building here. I mean, this one you can't see. Over here, the window, Jen Ivan's window, and then Betsy Smith's had a window replaced. It's 7 years in the making. We had these windows in storage. A bunch of them got replaced, I think 7 years ago, and finally getting around to getting 3 out of the 4 installed. We got 1 more to do, so I'm not worried about that. Shop classroom over here had a new air filtering system put in it as well. Down at the elementary school, they built and installed cubbies for classroom. Our installer for the Univent, they're going to be back in October to install a heating system down there in one of the rooms. So that's a 1-day job. Not to mention the typical summer work where every classroom stuff gets pulled out and they do a deep clean on every room in both buildings. That's kind of like a standard practice every summer. Every summer is they pull it out, clean it, wax the floors, this and that, and they put it all back. All that, the compressor of the freezer here that got replaced as well. That was another repair reserve fund purchase. So all said, and kind of, we're looking pretty good in terms of our facilities. Thankfully, because of the repair reserve fund, we can do things rather than wait to try to build a capital project and take that out to developers. So kind of where we are. That's part operations.
Any questions?
Also, kudos to the grounds staff. They put the soccer dugouts out down North Shore grounds.
Oh, yes.
That we got underneath.
Well, that's one
Very
more
happy
thing.
to see those.
This summer too, they also finished refurbishing the baseball fields. It's been kind of I say 3 years. We've been purchasing baseball dirts. It is a special kind of dirt. So over the last, in essence, 3 years, we couldn't afford $50,000 all at once, so we decided to break it up over 3 budgets. And they worked on the softball field, the varsity baseball field, and they are finishing the work right now on the modified field. So you have to be down there, take a look, because the outdoor crew, they went to a clinic at the beginning of the summer on how to properly do baseball mounds and all that. So it's done right. So yes.
Well, also thanks to the maintenance department, because when you think about it, pulling out everything from all of these classrooms in 2 buildings, waxing the floors and all of that, that's a lot of work. Yeah, for sure. Okay, thanks, Dana. Superintendent report, Tim, please.
So I'll start with our first day. I'll do chronologically a little bit. So our first day of staff was just right after Labor Day. I was just really pleased overall with our kickoff for our staff and our students. I thought it was just really cohesive and positive and good themes. So on our first day, Don and Colleen joined us. So I was certainly grateful to have representatives of the board to join our staff for the opening. Colleen gave some comments about the importance of personal accountability and small steps leading to progress. I thought was great. I talked with our staff a bit about the importance that they have in shaping our students' lives. And my job is relatively easy because our students at the end of last year gave speeches as part of commencement, and just buried in all of those speeches were just so much goodwill for our school. So my job is easy in that regard. But I talked about that and just about how there are certain things that AI is going to impact in education and certain things that are irreplaceable, that they of course represented the irreplaceable part of that. So it was a really good start to the year. And as I said, I think the vibes have been great. The second day of our staff development for the start of the year, the evening was our open house at the elementary school. So once again, really solid participation. Mrs. Franklin thought that we had 90 to 95% of our students show up, which is just phenomenal numbers. And for those who were not in attendance, we had groups, Educational Opportunity Fund, the Boy Scouts, ORTA, Police Department, After School Program, and Community Schools, all in booths in the gym, allowing for students to sign up for their skating passes and different clubs and learn about different opportunities. So that was really nice to have their participation again. We had a free barbecue for all our families this year. We moved away from a traditional potluck, which was fun and kitschy for what it was, but we kind of realized that parents have enough on their plates prior to the start of school, so it's better to provide that to them. And so that was I think, appreciated by families. And the food was great. Our cafeteria staff delivered once again. Stepping aside for a minute from the start of school, there's a few additions or late things that took place in the summer I do want to just acknowledge. The first is that a pollinator garden was installed at the elementary school over the course of the summer. I think it was about a year ago that Cindy Baird came into my office and said, I want to do something for our kids. And so she had this idea and she put in an application to the town of North Alba for grant funds. And it was fully funded by the town. And over the course of the summer, pollinator garden was installed, and our STEM program for our students the last week of August incorporated pollinator garden into the summer camp that they had for the kids. So it was great. If you get a chance, the video is really fun. Wise use of Tom Petty's wildflowers in there as background. So thanks to Cindy for all of her hard work and vision in that regard. So we did have a lot of community school summer camp activity at the end of the summer. We had 84 students that took part in all 4 of the community schools camps. We had 33 joining our sports camp for grades 3 through 5. We had 24 for robotics camp for middle school students, 15 at the STEM camp for our 1st and 2nd graders, and 12 for our K camp to begin the journey in kindergarten. And so depending on which camp students were in, some of them were able to ice skate or go to experience outdoors and do the zip line course. They could fly drones. They would learn about the science of cooking and what, as I referenced again, also just using the pollination garden. So lots of great things. And this was also funded by the town of North Alba. So we really appreciate the town's support. And I know that in my debrief meeting with the town at the end of the Camp Placid session, they expressed their gratitude to the district for our partnership and facilities over the course of the summer. So it's a good partnership there. And also thanks to Mr. Gotham for coordinating this and all the teachers who made the camps happen. Well, let's talk about the kids. That's why we're here, right? And so our students' first day, I thought in both buildings were very successful. So I started off at the middle high school, and students at the middle high school, upon arrival, we took attendance, and then they went right down to the auditorium. And it was the closest thing to a pep rally / opening that I can recall in my years in the district here. Karen could easily hear the cheering from our office. So it was great. Students, the MCs of the event were Griffin McCumber and Brooke Meyer. Our student council leaders, they did a great job. And every year, Miss Lindsay gives a speech to the students, some little anecdote or truism she tries to impart to the kids. And I loved her message this year. She talked about how apparently eagles are known to be persistently annoyed by crows. And the way that the eagles deal with the crows, of course, it's an eagle, it can obviously deal with a lot of ways. But the way they elect to do so is they just go up where the air is so thin that the crows can't, abide in those conditions, and they fly away. And I thought that anecdote was really good. She tied it into the importance of being authentic and not letting the crows in our lives peck at us to a point where it impacts who we are. So kudos to Miss Lindsay for that message. And the assembly wrapped up with air mattress relay races, which were hilarious. And all of the class advisors participated against one another as well. So there were 10 fully fledged professionals of our district jumping on air mattresses for the better part of 15 minutes. It was great. And no workers' comp claims were filed. So we're very pleased with that. Elementary school, I immediately pivoted down there, and the students got called down at 10:30. And Mrs. Franklin did an excellent job. Her focus is really promoting bomber pride with our students this year. And so we talked about acts of kindness and supporting one another and lifting everyone up. And all the students have been given sticky notes, and we're filling a wall with positive notes and thoughts over the course of the start of the year. So it was just a really good start to the year, and I felt the vibes were just palpable and pleasant. So I'm appreciative of all of our staff and Mrs. Franklin and Miss Lindsay for their messages to begin the year. I always try and get in classrooms every day. It's generally my favorite part of the day after I greet students. But this year I'm really making a concerted effort to get in there even more. Just to kind of see the innovative things that our teachers are doing and our students are, being exposed to. And I just wanted to share this because I thought this was fun. I went in this morning to the elementary school, probably 8 or 9 different classrooms. And when I went into Miss Villion's art room, the kids were learning how to create a sign of their names. Somehow she had, I guess, through artistic skill and training, of course, she had figured out how kids could create a neon-like effect with their, just by using different color shades of their names and 3D images. But for me, the cool part was that in order to get them to create this sign for their names, she taught them how to write their name in cursive. And so I love when teachers are embedding parts of the curriculum that aren't really theirs to own. And that was a good example of that. And giving a little bit of love to skills that were just commonplace and necessary, and then suddenly just have gone. And, so I think it was cool to see that. So I applaud Miss Leon for her creativity. She does a great job. Looking ahead, our open house at the middle high school is this Thursday. It's from 6 to 7:30. We've had success in both attendance and participation in recent years at our open house. We've spiced it up a little bit. Students can get tickets when they go to different teachers, and so they're incentivized to bring their parents everywhere. And at the end, they put those tickets in different raffles for prizes at local businesses. So it's a hit. This year, as in others, we're going to be feeding everyone, so we'll have a nice big barbecue. And then as an added plus, families will be able to rent and skate on the oval for free. So the lights will be on and parents and families who are in attendance can go out and do this. That was a great idea by Mr. Goldman, and appreciate him expanding our open house a little bit more. That's my report.
One thing I did hear from a few parents that the community school, and I happened to mention it to Brendan Zoltan at a soccer game, is that, excuse me, maybe next summer that there could be some activities, especially for the high school students that haven't started working yet, because we do a lot for the elementary, middle, high school, but there's nothing really for the high school kids in the summertime. And 9th and 10, even some 10th graders aren't of age yet to work, so maybe trying to come up with something next summer for that age group. So Brendan said he was going to look into it.
Awesome.
Okay, our next item is information for the board. There is something under public content. Our extracurricular activities report is there for people to review. And then there's 2 items under executive content for you to look at your leisure. 4A, minutes, is under consent. Moving on to personnel, consent agenda. Recommended action, approve the items which are included in the personnel consent agenda items. 5B, CSEA appointment, bus driver. 5C, CSEA staff leave of absence. 5D, appointment of additional volunteer coach. And 5E, CSEA staff resignation. 5F, additional fall coach. May I have a motion, please?
I'll move it. One second.
Who's the first, Doug?
Any discussion on those, any of those items? If not, please vote.
You're still not coming out? Seven, yes.
And I just want to thank Dylan Cohen for stepping up and John Moody as volunteers. And I want to welcome Jeremy Swinier to the ranks of our burgeoning bus driver fleet. May it grow in perpetuity.
Okay, moving on to additional action items. 6A, recertification of lead evaluators, and 6D, special education were previously under consent. 6B, donation acceptance, recommended action. Whereas Lake Placid Central School Board of Education Policy 6255, donation, gifts, and grants to the district allows for the superintendent of schools to accept on behalf of the board gifts, donations, and grants having a value of less than $1,500. Whereas monies have been granted as follows. Adirondack Community Foundation in the amount of $2,425 for the purpose of the backpack program. Now therefore, be it resolved in accordance with policy 6255, the Board of Education hereby accepts a check from the Adirondack Community Foundation for the backpack program in the amount of $2,425. May I have a motion, please?
I'll second. Second.
Any discussion? Well, many thanks for this. What a wonderful program. Please vote. And there's also a comment under executive content for the board to look at.
7 yes.
Six C, recommended action, whereas Lake Placid Central School Board of Education Policy 6255, donation, gifts, and grants to the district allows for the superintendent of schools to accept on behalf of the board gifts, donation, and grants having a value of less than $1,500. Whereas monies have been granted as follows. The Keenan Family Charitable Fund in the amount of $5,000 for the purpose of the backpack program. Now therefore be it resolved in accordance with policy 6255, the Board of Education hereby accepts a check from the Keenan Family Charitable Fund for the backpack program in the amount of $5,000. May I have a motion, please?
Second.
Any discussion? Many thanks to the Keenan family for a great cause. Please vote.
7 yes.
So we're moving into the discussion phase for the board goal and objectives. So if people can pull those up, we can look at those. We will vote on this at our next meeting in Wilmington, but there are numerous members that have been able to put in some information. So I'm just going to open the floor up for people to give their input. Several people have included some items in there, and I don't know if everyone's had the chance to review these. Don, you had one question in here about what we do with the superintendent evaluation and also with the board evaluation. I know that in previous years, the board president would meet with the superintendent after we compiled our evaluation and meet, for example, with Tim directly, and I would share the evaluation and go over any other. So it's not something that's just kind of defunct that sits there and nobody ever addresses. And the same thing with our board evaluation, at least it's been my experience that generally the comments that are made in some form, if we haven't addressed them previously, they are inputted into next year's goals for us. So I think it's a pretty effective tool, but wouldn't you agree, Tim?
I think it works well, yeah.
Okay.
I always feel like I have good feedback from the board and gives me time to think about what I want to improve.
And we're always
But I
tweaking
mean, I worked some time into that and know nothing about it except that I typed. Just hit the send button. I've heard about it since. And I don't think there are glaring issues that need to be addressed because I think we're in good shape.
Well, I know in exec session, we discussed it. And again, this is only my experience that as a board, at least in regard to super eval, we met in executive session and discussed all of the points that we had, and I think gave opportunity for input from board members. And based on the input from that executive session in this past year, I then met with Tim in private and went over the sentiment that we received from the various board members and the results of what we put in. So that's my experience.
So you don't see the final evaluation as a board member?
Our self-evaluation. Yeah,
It was
I
there.
don't see-
The full one, I think, did come out, Don. I could be wrong.
What would that be, our self-evaluation?
The self-evaluation, oh, that we're gonna do in October?
No,
No,
you're initially talking about the super eval that we did this past.
Right, but
We
they're in the
didn't
same-
we do a self-evaluation as a board?
in October.
So there's the board evaluation, and then there's my evaluation, and each,
That has not come up for us.
No,
no.
no. You did it last fall.
Okay.
We do it once a year. So the superintendent
No,
is
that's
typically
fine.
done in the
No, I
spring.
understand. Your meeting, board president meeting with the superintendent is right on.
Right, and then
I just
last,
want to make sure that we as a board are identifying things that we could be doing better.
yes,
We put them all out on the table and get better.
and that's what this particular document is for. This is the board evaluation, our own self-evaluation. So these comments that people are putting in are potential new goals for us to be working on for this upcoming year's goals. So this is the opportunity where we discuss as a board all the things that are highlighted in gray or pale blue on the side. This is what we'd like to input as new goals for us, where some of these older ones could be removed.
Not to nitpick here, but our goals and objectives doesn't seem like the same process as our self-evaluation.
And that will come later. I mean, we do a separate one for that, and I'm sorry if I was confused about that.
It is interesting though, and Karen and I discussed this a little bit, because this is tradition, right?
Yeah.
In that typically an evaluation happens and then goals are fostered from the
Yeah.
evaluation. So I don't know if it's just the nature of the terms of boards where, I mean, to have two new members immediately evaluate the efficacy of the board in the summer would make no sense. So it's a little unique.
And I apologize, Don, because I was forgetting that you were talking about two separate things and I was focusing on
Yeah, I
this.
just want to make sure that we are candid with each other.
Yeah.
Get better.
No, I'm sorry. I was confused.
Thank you.
And I think even with that, with a separate thing when we're reviewing ourselves, we do talk about some of the things will score low, some of them will score high. And in the past, when we have had a couple of things that were scoring on the lower side, we did discuss it.
And
say,
where do the comments go? So following our,
putting this thing completely aside, what is similar to what we did for Tim, those comments will be there. And we'll be able to see them at the end when we complete that document. And for example, it's typically from 1 to 4. I think
Like
it's-
the standards, you mean? Like,
Yeah, the standards from 1 to 4. So if there's something that pops up in the 1 or 2 category that's outside kind of the norm, that'll pop up and we'll say, oh, we've had several board members say that.
step that we put a lot of time into the prose piece of that comment. That just disappears.
No, we should be talking about that once we're done.
Because I imagine a lot of wisdom came in those comments. Sure. Well, there's the case.
You're talking about incorporating those comments back into the board goals and objectives.
Just so I wasn't writing to myself.
Right,
I don't
so,
know
but
that
we
we've
don't,
never-
yeah, right, that's what we're
We've never
talking
done
about,
that.
is it's a little backwards.
Yeah, so it's a little confusing because we're bringing in 2 or 3 different things here and
I understand, I think I understand what you're saying though, is you do this evaluation in October. Shouldn't some of the stuff that you did in the evaluation be in this to get better at it?
To whom are we writing?
Yeah,
And certainly if a number, it shows up as an alleged, we find it.
Yeah.
But to whom are we writing those comments?
I think each board member crowdsources those together and then, there's a scale that shows up on that 1 to 4 that shows
Yeah.
anything with the deviation greater than 1.
Yeah.
And then I remember we did that in October. The one glaring one this last year was that we didn't have a board retreat. And so, to kind of sharpen the saw on some of the legal aspects of board membership. And so we had our retreat as a result of that, but,
I mean, I can't think of a particular example within the board self-evaluation. I'm sure there are ones in there that there would be something that would pop up within that, Don, that maybe we didn't score well on, that we could then cross-reference and go back into some of our 6 strategic goals and put something in there that we need to improve upon, but they're not really succinct.
but it'd be neat if we could get a PDF, of the final cumulative board evaluation each year. And it could be accessed, in executive content for the board in the same manner that the goals are, accessed for the board as well. So you have that reference point over the course of the year. And I think we could do that, Karen.
I thought that.
If we download it as a PDF.
But I thought I did that so that people would be able to. see
Yeah, when
it.
I looked at that, I couldn't find out what other people were saying.
No, you can't see what other
You
people
can
are
only, you
saying.
can only look at your own.
Right.
Right, so
So-
why, so just hit.
Well, you're scoring on what you believe.
Scoring. Understand the score. But it asks us to make comments throughout that. And I'm sure we all put in a lot of time. to make those comments. I think we grow from seeing those comments.
You can only see your own.
Right.
The other ones are
They're-
blocked.
Yeah.
In other words, you can't read other people's comments and there is no compilation.
I think I was able to, I could be wrong.
I think you
The board
can.
president is
Yeah, I
able to.
think
Yeah, and I think I can.
So you have to grant admin access.
I do, so I know exactly what you're all thinking. But no, it's, and maybe we should be sharing all of those thoughts. Because again, if we don't know what Don is thinking or Christopher
So-
or anybody, and
Can you see this behind me at all? So this is the compilation of the overall evaluation from last year. And then see your comments by the individual board members.
Yeah.
Private. And then Colleen and I can see all the
Okay,
private
because-
comments that were
because-
made.
Coming out of last October, I saw the score sheet, but I didn't see the commentary.
but I
Right.
think
So
I.
the commentary has to go to somebody, and it has to serve some purpose.
I think I shared those comments at some point, probably in the general meeting or an executive session. I would share the list of Johnny said this or Susie said that and share that with the group that this particular board member feels we're doing this great. I didn't necessarily use a name, or this is where we need to improve upon. So I get access to that.
Is there a way for not make even preserving like? keeping it
Anonymous, just- yeah,
but, like,
just
so
comment.
we're
Just comments without.
Just having
Put my name,
comments.
everything I type.
We all know, right. Or maybe there's a way moving forward where the comments can all come out and
Yeah.
people can read them, not necessarily who it applies to,
Right,
but so that we get
That would be
the
it.
feedback from the group.
because what I'm hearing you say, I'm new to this, so I'm trying to understand, is that information helps us form decisions or goals or objectives in October? When we do that? Or are we talking about different things? I'm just trying to understand.
3 different things going on here. It would be helpful if
Well, I'm
we did
making
have,
reference to last October, I was a new board member,
Okay,
and I had access to see the average, whether it was effective or very effective and so forth. But I didn't have access to what individual members had written in those comment spaces.
Okay.
And necessarily think I'm missing any. But if we're gonna put in a lot of time and thought into those little boxes to go. I think we've finished this. Thank you.
No, but I do think it's important. I think it's important when we do the next one, Don, that if we're able to create some kind of a document that we can share with everybody.
Yeah.
And I can read out policy number 6255 and ramble on about, different things that, everybody then will have an overview of where we're at.
Don won't shut up.
No.
Yeah,
no.
or even like a document that we can reference.
Or even something in advance so that
Yeah.
we can see, so,
We think we have an idea.
okay.
It won't be in
Okay.
super eval form,
Yeah.
but we
Doesn't
can,
have to be pretty.
we can make it available without, but preserving the anonymity of all commenters.
Right.
Because I think that's what gives some authenticity to
Yeah,
the
no,
process.
that's Well, if they feel that their name is going to be tagged to something and they have something that they want to bring up that we need to address, most people aren't as apt to be as forthcoming as they would be if it was anonymous.
Right.
So, in any event, getting back to this other fun document, I'm not sure what everyone wants to do with this tonight with our goals for this upcoming year. There's a lot of different comments in here with some great ideas, and I don't know if anybody who has flagged some ideas, if they want to bring up some of their things in particular to discuss more in detail.
Just like to just make some general, I just kind of banged away from the top to the bottom of this and just put my comments on the slide. Then I went back and I looked at what I said. It turned out, a lot of these are just my hot buttons. That for those of you who've been around for a while, I've brought these up before. So that was one comment, and I tried to make these things a little stronger. In other words, to take an example, strategic goal number 1, I said, add the word safe. Now, that allows you to tie in the first bullet point to the last bullet point, because the last bullet point just kind of comes out of the blue. And, where's this from? And the other thing I tried to do is to make the goals more definitive or firmer. Some of them are, there really is an objective, but you have others that are more. And I didn't like the last one, just says review something. I mean, that seems so wishy-washy that you can't help but hit it. All you have to do is spend 5 minutes and it's done. So I tried to make it a little stronger in that case, and also relative to the school resource officer. That's been kicking around here for years, and I think we need to make a decision on this somehow.
I think we did, didn't we?
No, we did not.
The decision was to have the security study done
Oh,
and then
first,
have
we did.
them, which in the security study, they did recommend it, but at this point, it's
It
a
says
dollars and cents thing.
Yeah.
at this
It's
point.
considered, yeah, okay. But anyway, some of these things were hot buttons, OCs and stuff like that. But anyway, I thought these were pretty good. They do cover the waterfront, and I think now that a number of people have commented on it, other people should read those comments and say, do we want to put those into the goals and objectives? Or do we say, well, that's just, thank you very much.
No, I think there's some really good ones here. I think, Christopher, you had some good ones that you brought up.
I was just thinking of another one too that I'll try to type in here in a second, because I talked to Tim about the bus driver stuff, so I can put something in on that, trying to figure out. I know we had problems last year during sports season. We had, can't remember the name of the kid that just got hired on there, I'd have to look back, but I think it took like 3 months to get him, so. Yeah, I mentioned trying to figure out if we need to do something with CSCA or whatever to look at their salary to bus drivers for their contracts to see what we can do there. I think I'm gonna have that here under the CSCA, LBA, whatever relationship. So
I think it's tough because our bus drivers, for whatever reason, I'm sure there's a financial logistics to it, but they're not hired full-time, 40 hours a week. And that's probably, I would think, somewhat problematic because then you're kind of reaching a senior citizen retiree pool. And I know Christopher, someone that works now at your department.
Yep, she left the bus to Amber Lee there, left, and now she works with me down there, so I've heard all the stuff from her about it, so. And she did it because she wanted the health insurance, and I think that's what probably Tori and a couple of other people do it for, is I guess the health insurance is good through the school, but then trying to fill in with a younger person, they're probably looking for the money end of it instead of the health insurance end of it, but I don't know if we could develop another hybrid position or whatever. I don't know. I don't know how to fix it, but I know it's gonna be something that we're gonna hear feedback from parents, or you will.
You know,
Feedback never stops.
Well, to your point, Chris, we have created those
Yes,
hybrids
yep,
already.
yep.
And we advertised those
still,
hybrids
yeah.
and got nothing. So yes,
Yeah,
we have done the hybrid where we had driver and mechanic,
Yep.
driver and a custodian. We have 2 custodian openings. We've advertised custodian, driver, got nothing. Had to break it down to just custodian, and now we're getting applicants because it takes a special person to want to drive a
yeah,
school bus.
no, it's a lot of
Yeah,
liability
yeah.
on that.
It's
on
a
that.
lot of liability, and I think, I don't know what the standard rate is around, and I think there's probably quite a few of us sitting at this table tonight that get feedback when we're in the community, and the reality is places like, I don't know what their benefits are like, but let's face it, Stewart's, you're getting 21, 22 bucks an hour to make ice cream cones, and you know, we're asking people to go out and drive 60 kids on a bus and assume that responsibility. And the other thing that I think, and maybe it goes under just community outreach, is that I think it is the time, and I could be wrong, but I'm already hearing this from being at sporting events. We need to put some kind of something out to our district families, explaining to them where we're at with the bus situation. And it's not particular just to our district, but families need to understand. I'm sure, Ryan, you're already driving kids around coming from sporting events, and
To,
parents,
from.
but parents need to understand that it's not lackadaisical behavior on anyone's part, but there is a situation in our district, just like many other districts, where we have a shortage of bus drivers. And that's what's making some of these things complicated with sports or late bus runs or whatever. But I do think it's time that we put out a letter, and I don't know how the rest of you feel about that, but
I have a
I
question
think,
too about, so a parent asked me at soccer, and I know during hockey season last year, Saranac Lake's rules are different on kids driving to and from practices and games. So where do I find our policy on that? And is that something that we should look at so that if there's kids that are old enough to drive, like we might not have to use a big bus to take the hockey team to Saranac Lake, we might be able to use a small bus if a kid has his license and can drive one of his, but I don't know. I'm just,
And and that's a good question. We
So-
exercise all those options. So our policy, this gets more into regulation about
yeah,
practice.
yep,
But our policy level basically says that, any school-sponsored activity, enrichment activity such as sports, we will ensure transportation to there, and if we cannot ensure it back, then we'll ensure that the parent is able to transport the student.
gotcha.
But then like in the world of just rubber hitting the road and regulation, we have like a hierarchy of options that we utilize to determine, you know, primary being bus driver.
Yep.
And then if we don't have a driver, then our next is this newest line that we've created, which is our occasional drivers.
Okay.
Who can take students in our suburban or our white vehicle, minibus. And then from there, then we get into the, is a student authorized by their parent to drive themselves only? We don't permit students to
Yep.
drive other students, but we do permit parents to drive other students, other parents' children, provided that both parties are assenting to that.
Okay.
And so just the churn and of all that creates a lot of balls to
Yeah, I
keep in
gotcha.
the air.
can we let the families know that those are kind of like the options that we have, Tim, so that there's no misunderstanding when, there's not a bus that can take so-and-so here or there, or something had to get canceled or whatever, that they're not exploding and not understanding what's behind it.
Sure. I actually made a note that, and if not this week's newsletter, next week's, I'll draft something to go in, both so that all parents can see these things about, and to just highlight the things we've done to attract and
Right.
incentivize. I mean,
Yeah,
referral bonuses, sign-up bonuses. Dana did a regional analysis. We pay more hourly than any other regional school. I mean, we offer time and a half to our drivers. The second it becomes an after-school run, sports run at 4 o'clock, which is abnormal.
It's a tough thing though, because Lake Placid in itself is unique because of the competition that we have with all of the other big businesses locally. You might be doing a regional thing where you're tapping into places like, I don't know.
Look at
Al-
Sable. Sure.
Which those little grocery stores, gas stations, whatever, aren't paying what our local ones are here. And, you know, there's other larger organizations that are struggling, Aldi's in Saranac Lake. But we have places like Stewart's and places like that that are paying as much as our bus drivers, or someplace down in Au Sable might only be paying their people $16, $17 an hour. We're paying ours like 21, 22. So it's, I don't know, we may have to up the ante in order to get these people in and maybe increase their hours, so it seems like more of a full-time position that, I don't know. I don't know.
Well,
what the
there
answer-
lies, I mean, there lies, the issue is, we have either 25 or 28-hour positions. We have one driver that's like 32 hours, you know, and that's, you know, what our needs are.
Yeah.
You know, to hire someone at 40 hours,
Yeah.
then you say, okay, what are we gonna do with them for the other 15 hours? It's type of
I
deal.
don't
Well, and
know.
I know for sports, because I've heard like, just listening to the kids talk, there's apparently like a ton of kids between 7th and 9th grade just for soccer, so
Mhm.
sports have, and they're going to, because I hear it from other parents on baseball and whatever, sports are gonna blow up because of the grades that are coming up through the middle school right now. So that's gonna be and sports parents are crazy parents. You'll hear from.
The majority of like issues, I guess, with athletics, is that where the problems are occurring, or is it like your day-to-day runs?
It is, so like we're good in the morning.
Okay.
And I don't want to take that for granted.
Yeah.
Almost always we're good in the morning.
Yeah.
And then, what happens is our sports trips and our practices to the field and our second run home all converge at the same time. And so really, it'd be great to be fully staffed, but if we had a larger subcore of drivers, they could do the end of day runs, not sports associated, because we've incentivized sports runs at time and a half, and like our drivers want to make
Yeah.
that rate. It's just because they're tied up with getting the kids home from school first, the primary role, like they're not afforded the opportunity to the greatest degree. But the other thing is like we can't absorb an impact of a single absence the way we used to. If
Yeah.
a single driver is out,
It's
Mhm.
mess.
and then, so if we come down harder on our drivers about taking time off, that has
Yeah.
climate effects that could make
Yeah, no,
the issue worse.
the person that works with me now said she left with, I don't know how many hours of sick time, but she said it added up to like $6,000 worth of sick time because you couldn't take time off to be sick because they're just,
You're so desperate for
yeah, yep,
drivers.
they needed you there.
I think we're in a unique position. We have a school that has, whether it's academics, scholars, band, chorus. We have a lot of kids that are I would say probably 9% of our kids are in extracurricular activities after school, before school. We're hurting because we have a lot of kids that want to do the extra mile. And it sucks because we can't get, and it's the world today, you can't get anybody to come to work. My profession, Chris's profession, people just don't want to work. So even if we threw $30 an hour out there, which is astronomical, I don't know if we could ever do that, and made it a 40-hour position, you're still at that unique position where I got 6,000 hours sick leave. I'm not coming to work.
Yeah.
You know, I'm banging in, it's a 75-degree day and it's June, I'm not coming to work.
And it,
You know, and I don't want to see the kids the kids suffer, and I don't want to see the parents go completely out of control over the schedule and the bus run, but I don't know where we're at. I mean, this has been going on for years, you know, and it comes down to the fact that, yes, we're offering a good package. If I was retired right now, I'd be wanting bus drivers all day long.
Yeah.
Love it. I would take every sport trip we could take, you know,
You're hired.
you know,
Right.
but it's hard. I mean, what do we do? Do we? But like you said, Tim, do we push harder to make sure that we have drivers, and or do we, because we push harder, those guys that are retired go, I was a cop for 25 years, I don't even work here, see you later. You know, so I don't know what to do.
It's tough.
It's a hard position, but the hybrid position, I think, is the greatest idea, because here you go, you got a bus driver in the morning, you got a maintenance guy in the middle of the day, you got a bus driver at the end of the day. If that guy wants overtime, I think every position should be done down.
No, but if we could create more hybrid positions, we might pull in maybe before.
But like you said, nobody.
No one applied, right.
No one
That was
applied.
our, we went that route. You guys approved the title change even with more money.
Yeah.
You know, we tried to get existing custodians to go with a driver / custodian. Saying, okay, our existing custodians, if you want to shift over and also become a driver, you're gonna get $1.50 more an hour. They're already 40-hour-a-week people. And they weren't even, you know, we weren't even looking to use them as regular drivers. It's as Tim, you know, discussed, is we needed subs to fill in the afternoon run so that our regular drivers can do the sports trips. And we had 0 bites on internal people wanting to make that switch of, again, we're not asking you to drive every day.
We
We
see
just
somebody
need
back.
someone to do an hour run in the afternoon. It'll most likely be during your normal work shift.
Yep.
So, you know, if you don't want the overtime, you don't have to, and we got, and plus the sign-on bonus if you did it. And got no one internally that expressed an interest or has gone that route of going out to get, and, you know, even to the point where we'll reimburse you for the cost of the permits, get your endorsements, you know, paid training, you know, and then get the bonus once you complete a few trips, all of that. Covered everything, you know, we'll cover everything from start to finish to become a driver. And
No,
Do we have any positions that are just for sports? I mean, is there anything like where someone that we would hire if they were just interested in driving sport buses? Someone that would be interested in doing that only?
I think we run afoul of
Yeah.
our existing employees because of the rates.
Right.
Okay.
Yeah, we really just we need those subs at the end of the day, permanent, just end of day routes. Like if we could get 2 more, boy, we'd be flush.
I mean, and no, I don't want anybody in the transportation crew to think that we're dumping on, because hats off to the Indiana crew, because they pull off the daily runs.
Absolutely.
And I know just about everybody that works down there, and there's not enough drivers. We have way more buses than drivers, you know, and it's scary. It's,
I mean,
they're
they
doing
understand.
God's work. They really
yeah, they're
are.
frustrated because,
Yes.
again, they would love to do the sports trips because that's time and a half, or
Right.
field trips, you know, that they leave
When
at
every team's got a
2:30,
trip every day.
2:45. Yes,
Yeah.
you know, they see it as time and a half. And when we had a driver last year that made almost $10,000 more by doing these trips and things like that, the extra. But we don't have anyone to backfill when, you know, the
Yeah,
subs that
they
we
can't get to
have.
the extra because they can't get their normal workload done to get.
And-
Right.
And
yeah.
it's very complicated. I know, and again, I'm speaking as a family member, but I know that pretty much almost every weekday morning, our AD director, Jeff, gets a text, there's no buses, kind of like figure it out, and he's scrambling, trying to move things around. So it's a very fluid thing on a daily basis, whether a sports competition gets canceled or whatever. It's just, it's a lot not having these extra drivers.
The only thing we haven't tried to do yet is harvest our own drivers. And that's like going to the source of training at, you know, basically identifying students, because at 21, you have to be 21.
21, yeah.
So even like in an ideal world, we'd be tapping our seniors who are around on the shoulder, but they're not there yet. So there's got to be a way to track.
Oh, we have one that as soon as she turns 21, she's gonna get her permit and all that.
And the CDL process is what? Chris,
It's something different because you guys have Kelson, who's a hired trainer or whatever.
That's
so it's
right.
different.
Yeah, so I mean, they have to go get their permit, their CDL permit with their
Okay.
school, with their passenger endorsements.
Okay.
So once they have that, there's an online class that they take through us, so it doesn't
Okay.
cost them anything.
takes anywhere from, 4 to 7 hours, depends on, how quick they want to work through that. Once they finish that class, they are then eligible to get behind the wheel to start practicing. And Kelson, our 19A instructor, he says it's typically about 40 hours is what someone needs for that. So that will, lengthen how long, it takes for them because of the 40 hours. With Jeremy that we just hired, he's not a driver, but we hired him as a driver / monitor. So he's doing monitoring, and then between his morning and afternoon runs, he's also putting in the time to work with Kelson so that.
Where does this take place? Like the horse show grounds?
They just go out,
Practice?
they probably start there first, and then they start driving around, and getting him used to, getting the drivers used to being on the bus and practicing parallel parking, because they got to parallel park a bus for their road
What
test.
a nightmare.
Yeah. So you're right, I
The
mean,
bigger it is.
it's a process, but, and all of that. But at this point, it's a matter of getting someone interested in it. And it goes back to exactly what you're saying is, it's hard to attract that younger person at 25 hours or 28 hours.
Yeah.
When you can go to the village and go 40 hours, Monday through Friday, 8 to 4 type of deal. The benefits are great, but, it's not 40 hours.
Well, in any event, I think, anybody has any ideas and just letting the families know, I think is a good idea. Moving forward, but.
It's a problem, it's everywhere.
Yeah,
It's not
no,
just, you can advertise, you can push out as much as you can.
Yeah.
It's across the board. I don't know, and I'm just throwing out there, like, if there's any way to kind of restructure any afternoon runs along with sporting runs, and I know you're kind of doubling up at that point, but really looking at the nitty gritty and kind of seeing how you can reroute, if unintended, sports events as well as drop off. It's not ideal, but
We had to do that already to start the year. We typically have 2 late runs, so like 3:25. We've reduced that to 1. One, because we're down 2 drivers. Well, now 1, once, Jeremy comes on, we'll be just down 1 driver. But yeah, we've had to do that. Last spring, we combined the afternoon Wilmington, we had 2 afternoon Wilmington runs. We combined that to 1.
yeah.
Again, because of the shortage, but yes, that is something that Nikki, transportation supervisor, is constantly looking at to see just that is where can we combine if we're down to help alleviate some of the shortage.
And 4 years ago, we restructured our time, you'll remember that,
Yeah,
Colleen,
I do.
where we had a unified start, unified exit.
Yeah, which,
We hadn't have done that.
yeah,
I can't even imagine.
Yeah, I know.
Yeah, that,
there's
Well, you
one,
used to have a driver too that lived down Wilmington, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
so he would just,
Just
I bet that,
That was huge.
there's one other one here, that, there's a bunch of really good ones, but, Christopher, you brought this one up about resume writing.
oh, I didn't know we had to discuss all these.
No, but there's one here that I think because,
So I get to be part of where we review people's job application and stuff for the electric department. And we've had, over the last, I want to say 4 years, we've had people in and out. So we've hired 3 different people. And not that I'm anything professional, but I've been amazed at some of the stuff that people turn in for a job application just to apply for a job down there. And we're talking like 40-year-old people. So, and I can imagine it goes from just never having a chance or opportunity to do it. And they're obviously not college, not whatever. So it's never been in the process of their life. So I didn't know if we could look at, because we just hired Will Landriel. He only had to fill out the county's easy one,
Sure.
but Amber Lee, who came over from wherever, she filled out one with a cover letter, resume, all this stuff, like 4 pages, college, all this stuff, all in it. And to compare the 2 of them, and it's nothing against Will, it's just, they don't have the experience of what it is to have to sit and do that and interview or whatever, because they've just come 18 years old and come in and so, but I don't know if there's a way we can implement something into school to help kids that are gonna just, maybe they'll come be bus drivers or whatever, but they're gonna come apply for a job or apply or go out and look for jobs in town without whatever, just kicking them out the door at the end of the school year and say, you're on your own.
no,
So
it's,
I don't know.
it's important, and I want to let everyone here know, because some probably don't know this or don't remember. Years ago, what we had, and it occurred every spring, and it took place in the gymnasium, and it's exactly what Christopher was talking about. We had a day or two where we had 15 or 20 area businesses that would come in, and they were set up in the gymnasium from all types of backgrounds, whether it was doctors, lawyers, construction workers, grocery store managers, and they set up mock interview tables all around the gymnasium for any student that was basically of age to work, but primarily it was focused on juniors and seniors. They had to present their resume, their cover letter, and they sat down in a chair at different stations and went through a mock interview of how to do this. I don't think we've done that anytime lately, but it was really successful. And that is something that might tie
And
into
you have
it.
to have, obviously, the kids that want to participate in it, but I'm just saying, like, I don't know, I don't know if there's a way to help them with simple life things like that.
I don't know, we made it part of the day, like this was a day set aside for those students. And it was back in Roger Catania days, or maybe even Ernie Stratton, but it was a really effective way to get students, like you said, to have to put their resume together, whether it be in their high school English class or whatever, and then actually have to sit down and face to face and answer questions and why they want to do this type of job or whatever. And it would be really nice to see that put back in first and foremost this year.
I just look at my son and I sort of forced him into working at the garage this summer, because I knew he had to talk to people, because the kids like this are like this now, and it's just.
It may be beneficial to hear from our guidance department and middle high school administration about the things that we do, just so you can gain an idea of what those things are and if there are things we can do better. Could be a good goal area is just to, just gain a sense of our career and college readiness transition that we do for our kids. And I'm happy to, coordinate that with the team, so.
There's also a way to tie in AI, and I'm a proponent of AI, so into
Yeah.
all of that.
When you talked about resume, I was like,
Yeah.
Yeah, like,
2 minutes, like.
Yeah,
right.
Yeah.
But like having the soft skills to talk
Yeah.
and converse and all
Yeah.
that is valuable too, but I think it can all be encompassed into something, so yeah.
Stephanie, you had some good ones too, so I don't know if you want.
Well, I understand the process a little better now. One of the things that I brought up, and I should have asked it when you were talking about, I think Ryan and Tim, you went to the safety meeting, right?
Yes.
So did you ever have an opportunity where you worked with James Stambro, correct? With like tapping into the cameras in the school, and then seeing them
So that was brought
running?
up, and it was actually the Clinton County model was brought up, because that's what they're doing down there.
Yeah,
And there's access a tiny bit at the firehouse.
okay,
Like
like your station, your
yeah.
hut, yep.
But the talk was to try to expand that moving forward in the future.
I think it's super valuable because you learn a lot, and then if you run your drills, you then can have your own feedback for yourself. So I'd love to see that through. Here, I think, school safety is priority, especially in today's world. But it's a really good opportunity to debrief with your staff and kind of make tweaks on what can be better.
Right.
So I don't know if there's other things. We still have a couple of weeks before our September 23rd meeting, which is in Wilmington, for more people to add more things in here. Then at that meeting, we can, I guess, decide what we'd like to incorporate into our goals for next year. And then Karen will probably plunk them in there for us.
I only take what you guys do and put it into, yes.
It might be helpful if some of the suggestions could be formatted into like a goal or an action statement. Good dialogue.
Yeah, for sure. All right, well. moving on from that, we have a second good of the cause. Lost our audience. Harper
I don't have
had it,
anything on.
Nothing there,
No.
so, like to move into the adjournment phase. Again, our, next meeting is September 23rd in Wilmington at their community center, for those who have not gone there previously. Do we have any old agenda topics? Any new ones? If not, then I just the adjournment of the meeting at 6:14 PM. May I have a motion, please?
I'll second.
Somebody over there said second.
Yep.
Gross.
Okay, please vote.
Did you log in and log back in?
Joe helped me get on. It just behaved differently today, I think. I was able to get on
7 yes.
over the course of the week,
Meeting is adjourned. Thanks, everyone.
but something was different this time. I didn't have access to that, the executive document.
Now, do you think is there a difference